Sports fans, welcome to this episode of KFR Sportscast, and I am your host BG with a Wednesday update. Today's episode is sponsored by Dad Gang, right here or right here. Uh, Basically, just kind of go over some Wednesday news in the NFL. Go over some of the games that took place this past week for Week 7. Looking forward to Week 8. Breaking news: Commissioner just came out. Uh, Speaking on the fall meeting, um, some of the questions that really came across that addressed that were addressed that kind of stood out to me, if I had to say, were like, uh, they obviously asked about the Bad Bunny situation, and he said, I mean, he's the top streaming performing artist right now. Makes sense to me. I'm cool with it. Uh, I think one of the biggest questions that kind of stood out to me was the being asked about the officiating lately in the NFL, and is he okay with it? How are we feeling about it? Is the officiating okay? Which, if you guys remember last week, Big Sexy and I kind of touched on the penalties and stuff like that for the NFL, and could it be better? Absolutely, it could be better. I feel like we're missing some opportunities here. We're missing some opportunities on the officiating. Um, call it butt hurt, whatever. Uh, there was a lot of I feel missed calls, especially in that Tampa Bay game. But you know what? I'm not gonna let it stress me. I'm not gonna stress out too much about it. But I think Commissioner Goodell, I think he kind of avoided one of that question. I really do. I think he kind of avoided it by because the full question was, how do you feel like um the officiating has gone so far? Do you agree with some of the calls and the conferencing on the field? So I think that kind of comes into play where Roger Goodell said that he encourages the conferencing on the field, so obviously getting together and kind of being able to come together to make a call on the field. And but I think oh I think what was really being said was probably talking about the John Hussey thing from Monday night, where we kind of saw something that we hadn't seen before, and that was after a second review, right? I mean, we've never really heard that terminology used in officiating before, but after a second review, ultimately K. Dotton being short of the line to gain was what they said. So, but yeah, I think coming up this week, last week was crazy. Let's pull up some of the scores from last week here. Last week in the NFL, a lot of crazy games. Lots and lots of crazy games. Obviously, probably the craziest one was that Denver Broncos matchup between the Broncos and the Giants. Giants jumped out to like 26-point lead, and the Broncos ended up scoring 33 straight points in the fourth quarter, or 33 total points, which had never really been done before. So Broncos coming back in that game, and of course, right, it doesn't help when your kicker, sorry Giants fans, doesn't do his job and misses 2 extra points that could have potentially won you the game. All right, let's start with the Thursday night game. Thursday night game last week was the Bengals and the Steelers. What was being referenced to as the Icy Hot Bowl between Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. 2 quarterbacks whose total age ended up being about 84 years old. So Bengals ended up showing out and winning that game by 2, 31-33. Joe Flacco basically just putting it out there for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, if you had him in fantasy, he scored about 38 points in fantasy. Luckily for me, I had him, so he definitely helped me, lead me to a win. Then jumping over to the London game, Rams doing their thing, taking out the Jaguars 35-7. That was Matthew Stafford, five touchdowns. 5 touchdowns by Matthew Stafford. 3 of which went to Davante Adams. How do you think Kittle does this week? Let's see. Hold on, let me pull it up. Who are they playing? They're playing the Texans. Kittle playing the Texans. I think he'll be more impactful this week than he was last week, if that answers your question. Obviously he wasn't very much into the offense last week, using him as a run blocking tight end more than anything. So I think they get him more involved this week against the Texans. Would you start Kittle over Dobbins in the flex? I have Warren at tight end. Warren is a good tight end to have. So in your flex, let's see. Let's look at this. Look at this week 8 matchup. So you got Dobbins going against the Cowboys, who the Cowboys defense is atrocious. I'll just call it like it is. Dallas defense is atrocious. Kittle going against Kittle going against the Texans. Something tells me that I would want to play Dobbins in your flex over George Kittle, just because, again, that Dallas defense is horrendous. So me personally, I would probably put Dobbins in your flex rather than Kittle, especially if you have Warren, because Warren is going to be going up against Tennessee. And I went to that Tennessee game last week, and that Tennessee game was it wasn't even a Tennessee game. It was a New England Patriots game. If I have any followers in here from Tennessee and you were in Nashville last weekend, I appreciate you, man. Not a problem. Not a problem. So yeah, continuing going over last week. So Rams 35-7 over the Jaguars. Devontae Adams having him a very Randy Moss-esque kind of game last week. 5 receptions, 35 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is beyond insane. Bears take down the Saints 26-14. The Browns absolutely decimate the Dolphins 31-6. Tua, I think, throwing 3 or 4 picks. I think 3 picks that game. When does Mike McDaniel get fired? Mike McDaniels has got to get fired at some point. Like, if I'm thinking about it, I am so surprised that 2 coaches, Mike McDaniel and Aaron Glenn, are not out of the door yet. I think Aaron Glenn's only saving grace is that he's a first-year head coach. But Mike McDaniel's got to be like out the door, right? I mean, gotta be. A lot of teams putting up over 30 last week. The Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-0. I think pretty much everybody. Eagles take down the Vikings 28-22. Jalen Hurts comes alive finally for the Eagles passing game. As far as also having A.J. Brown. Thankfully, A.J. Brown finally showed up for my fantasy team with a couple touchdowns. So, yeah, go Birds. I'll say it with you, Sharp. Go Birds, this week. But Panthers took down the Jets. Panthers on a little bit of a roll right now. It's just a little bit of a roll. They won 3 straight 4 games this year so far. They're on a little bit of a roll. Now, I don't know if that's just because they're playing bad teams. Could be. Or if, they're finally, Dave Canales has got Bryce Young going, and they're finally kind of turning into a football team. Obviously, I've referenced the Patriots beating the Jets, Mike Vrabel coming back to Tennessee, and then beating them 31-13. It was a very close first half here in Nashville, but ultimately, I mean, when you have no offensive line, the game is going to fall apart eventually. It just happens. Then that late window, I referenced that Broncos and Giants game. What a game. And if you're the Giants, you can't put the blame on Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart had a hell of a game. All right? Jackson Dart played his ass off, right? He's going to be good. He's going to be good. But the Broncos, man, I mean, the Giants defense just playing all that prevent and, basically letting the Broncos back into that game. That was your first mistake. But putting 33 up in the fourth quarter, whew, no easy feat. No easy feat, man. I mean, there's a reason that, the Broncos defense is probably one of the best defenses in the league. I mean, they basically held the Giants to nothing in the fourth quarter. I think 1 score. Colts took down the Chargers 38-24. That was astonishing. First of all, can we talk about those Charger uniforms? The highlighter yellow Charger uniforms. Whew. I don't ever want to see those again. Please, dear Lord, never let me see those again. Packers come away with a win over the Cardinals 27-23, and then the Cowboys beat the Commanders 44-22. As bad as the Cowboys defense is, the Commanders are still kind of finding themselves. Jaden Daniels trying to get back, and I know I think he pulled his hamstring or hurt his hamstring. But if you got anybody playing against the Cowboys, start them. If you got anybody playing against the Cowboys, start them. All right, Sunday Night Football was the 49ers and the Falcons. 49ers taking care of business, and that was really all Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey was the Sunday night show. Like I had mentioned before, George Kittle coming back, first game back. Didn't do a lot in the passing game, if anything, but set up the run, right? He's coming across the line. He's making the blocks that need to be made, opening holes for Christian McCaffrey to go through. So, although he wasn't really in the box score. He was doing things to help the team that they needed to do to win. Monday Night Football, disappointing for my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A lot of sad news coming out of that. Mike Evans broken clavicle, so he's likely out for the remainder of the season, which means that he is not going to break the receiving record for 1,000-yard seasons. It hurts, it really does, but you know what? I can look over a history-breaking season as long as he is okay. I think the most important part is that he comes back and plays. Hopefully in time for maybe a playoff run. Let's just hope. But we ended up losing 24-9. Again, a lot of what was deemed controversial calls in that game. I didn't get to watch the game personally. Unfortunately, I was working Monday night. But from everything that I've seen, and maybe this is just the internet influencing what I see, there could have been some missed calls. But I'm going to take it, honestly, with a grain of salt because I didn't watch the game in its entirety. Right? I couldn't make a decision there live in the moment. So, but the Seahawks, man, putting in the work. They're 5-2. Texans, they beat the Texans 27-19. Jackson Smith and Jigba, man, he is reaping the benefits of having Sam Darnold. He is reaping the benefits of having Sam Darnold as a quarterback. Sam Darnold was counted out on the Jets, on Carolina, ends up in Minnesota, and just has a fantastic season, and then gets shipped off to Seattle. And ever since he's joined Seattle, he's been doing great things. So credit to Sam Darnold for revitalizing his career. So that was last week, folks. This week, let's talk about this week. This week, and as what I'll do here. Let's see. Okay. Let's talk about this week, right? Week 8 in the NFL. We are almost halfway through the season. I know it's kind of sad to think about, but we're almost halfway through the season. And so Thursday night, we got 6 teams on a bye this week. So Lions are on a bye. Seahawks are on a bye. Raiders, Cardinals, and then Rams and Jags, who are coming back across from, London, are all on a bye this week. So short schedule for week 8. So Thursday we have the Minnesota Vikings going into LA to play the Chargers. I think this game could go either way. I really do. Justin Herbert has been playing well. I think, they shoot themselves in the foot. They're obviously missing Hampton. Oh, excuse me, guys. I'm still a little tired. From this morning. Obviously, they're missing Hampton. So the Vikings coming off of a tough loss. Let's see. How do you like Diggs matchup against the Browns? The Diggs matchup. I think the Diggs matchup against the Browns could be good. The only thing that concerns me about the Browns is, even though their record does not show it, the Browns pass rush is pretty stout. I mean, when you got Myles Garrett on that front defensive line, I think, there's going to be some trouble. Now, that is the one thing that we didn't see. So when I was watching the Patriots play, let's see, for Rice, Rodgers, Vidal or Chase Brown. Let's see. I'm gonna get to you guys. I really am. I'm looking at these. I would say that Diggs could be a good matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Only saying that the Patriots offensive line was able to hold up against the pass rush, but again they were playing Tennessee, so that's just kind of what I saw. Let me go back here. Vidal or Chase Brown. Uh, I would have to take Chase Brown there. Chase Brown. They're going against the Jets. Jets are 0-7. You know they're. I don't have much hope for them. I can't pick anybody that's playing the Jets, or I can't pick against anybody playing the Jets. Similarly to anybody that's playing like the Cowboys. Cowboys defense has not been great thus far, and I'm feeling the same way against the Jets. So if I had to pick between those two, between Vidal or Chase Brown, I'm picking Chase Brown. Let's see. I traded Dunze and Rogers, my backup for Rashid Rice, and I'm not sure about that trade. I'm looking at it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to guess that's Montgomery. Monaghan? I would say so, only because if that's Rashid Rice, I would say so. I feel like that's a pretty good. Okay. Got an offer for Genty and McConkey for Collins and Montgomery. So you would be getting Genty and McConkey for Collins and Montgomery. I don't know, because Genty, I mean, the Raiders are just doing terrible. Plus, the Raiders are on a bye this week. Did he trade Jenkins, Garrett Wilson, BTJ, and Gibbs? I would definitely take that trade. Jenkins, Garrett Wilson, Ted for BTJ and Gibbs. I would take that. Pacheco, Hubbard. Let's see. Pacheco, Hubbard, Mason. Out of those three, start three of those. Let's see. Hubbard. I would not start Hubbard. I would start Mason. Ah, man. Vidal would be tough because they're going against each other. Now I would start. Let's see. Who are the Chiefs playing this week? Chiefs are playing. Are they playing this week? Where are they at? Am I tripping? Oh, they're playing Washington. I would start Pacheco. Pacheco, Hubbard, and Mason. That's who I would start. Let's see. Andy Dalton or Tyrod Taylor at my second QB slot for my bye. Okay. Andy Dalton. Let's see. They're playing the Bills. Tyrod Taylor's playing the Bengals. You'd be to see. I'd be trading. If you're trading Genty and McConkey and getting Collins and Montgomery, I would probably take that. I'd probably offer that up. Andy Dalton or Tyrod for your second QB. I'd probably take Andy Dalton. I mean, I know they're playing Buffalo, but Buffalo is semi kind of look like a fraud thus far. I mean, they'll get back on track, but I mean, Tyrod Taylor is. Where's Tyrod Taylor playing? Is he playing with the Jets? Is Tyrod Taylor playing with the Jets? Is that what I saw this week? Let's see. Stafford and Tyler Warren for Jettas and Goddard. That's a tough one, because I don't know. I think Tyler Warren is a better tight end than Goddard right now, just because Philadelphia is not throwing the ball as much, and if they are, they're trying to force it to Devontae Smith and AJ. Let's see, Chase Saquon and Mar for Egbuka. I have good. I would say I don't know if I would want to trade Saquon though. Eventually, well, I mean, you might. If that Madden curse is a real thing, you might want to trade Saquon. You're done with Saquon. I can feel that. I have Saquon on my fantasy team too, and I can feel that. Egbuka, I feel like could probably be big when he comes back. I mean, once he gets 100% healthy. I know he was in the Detroit game, didn't really do much, but Detroit's defense was just playing really well. And you have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's been playing great. Judkins is really starting to come into himself, and I'm guessing that's Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle, might split a little bit of time with Hubbard now since he's back. So, that's a iffy call. I mean, I feel like it could be worth it. See, I have BTJ as well. Could trade him for a Dunze or Olave, or Olave. Yeah, I mean, if you want to trade either of those receivers, I would say, maybe you could put up Chris Olave for a trade, just because I feel like Odunze is probably more prominent in the Bears offense than Alonze is. I know Olave is like basically their number one in New Orleans, but New Orleans has just been struggling. Let's see. Let's see how BTJ as well. BTJ is gonna start doing some things. I wouldn't trade BTJ just yet. They're on a bye week this week, so we'll have to see what happens come week 9 when they play again. Jay Jettas for James Cook. Okay, trade. I guess it depends on what you have around your fantasy team right now. I mean, do you have what other receivers do you have? I mean, because Jay Jettas, I wouldn't want to give up Jay Jettas. Not for James Cook. I mean, not for a 1-for-1. So, should I be starting Waddle? If not, I only have Wandale. I would probably start Waddle. If your only other options is Wandale, I would be starting Waddle. Let's see. Would you trade Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr., Brees for Puka, Juwan Jennings, and ETN? So with CeeDee Lamb coming back, I mean, Pickens will go back to wide receiver number 2. Puka, let's see, I know he was out this week. I don't know how long he's going to be out. Juwan Jennings, prominent. ETN. I mean, you could probably definitely offer it up. There's no doubt about that. You could definitely offer that up. Let's see. Would you trade Ferguson for Javonte? I have Warren, Bijan Jenkins, and AK-41. I don't find that. I would probably do that. I mean, Javonte Williams has been a great addition into that Dallas offense. And if you already have Warren for a tight end, having any Colts player, Jonathan Taylor, Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman. I mean, I keep Michael Pittman basically in my flex position, and he's been doing great things. So I would say that's a good trade if they accept it. TJ Brees. Okay. Nathan, I'm struggling with this one because I want to say yes. Pickens, BTJ, and Brees. So you got 2 receivers and a running back, 2 receivers and a running back, 1 for 1. I mean, it's probably not a terrible trade. Let's see, looking at the matchup, so Cowboys. I'm just looking at this week. Cowboys playing the Broncos. Jags are on a bye week. Breece Hall is playing the Bengals for, let's see, the Rams. So you're not going to be able to play Puka this week if you get him. Juwan Jennings, they are playing the Houston Texans. Okay, and ETN. ETN is also on a bye week. So, yeah, I mean, you're saving a couple of those players for next week. Let's see, buddy. I thought Joe Flacco was doing. Huh? I appreciate it. AP the bar. I appreciate it. I know I look kind of old, but you know what? I ain't that old. I appreciate it though. Thanks for the love. Yeah, the only difference is that Joe Flacco's been around the league with 7 different teams. I haven't ever played for one, so that's the main difference there. So I think I left off with Thursday Night Football. I was going over kind of some of these games coming up this week. Miami and Atlanta. Again, Mike McDaniel. If you lose to Atlanta, Mike McDaniels has got to be gone, right? I mean, you just lost to the Browns last week. Yeah, 1 win. And I can't even tell you who that 1 win was. It's probably against the Jets. So your 1 win was probably against an 0-7 team. Makes no sense to me. But you know what? Whatever. Jets going against the Bengals. Speaking of Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco will probably pick apart more Jamar Chase will pick apart the Jets defense and T. Higgins rather than Joe Flacco himself. But are the Jets going to go 0-17? Are they going to be our first 0-17 team since expanding to 18 weeks? I feel like it's a possibility. It's a big possibility. Let's do this. It is a big possibility. Bears playing the Ravens. Man, Bears playing the Ravens. As long as Lamar Jackson's out, I don't think the Ravens can win. We have seen that Derrick Henry is probably a little past his prime. If y'all just give me 1 second. 1 second, I got to plug my computer in. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing this ridiculous headset, it's because I'm also live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can find us everywhere. So if you guys could, I would ask that you go follow my sports TikTok. I just can't go live on there, so I use my personal account to go live. But that is @officialKFR. Anyways, Cleveland Browns going to play the Patriots in New England. Patriots just looked really good. Again, Cleveland Browns defense, that's probably the main reasons why they've been staying in games, if not winning games. Obviously, they put a defensive clinic on against the Dolphins, but again, we're talking about the Dolphins. Talking about the Dolphins, guys. Dolphins not doing anything too great this year. Patriots Patriots are number 1 in the AFC East. Can you imagine that? Patriots are number 1 in the AFC East. The Indianapolis Colts are the number 1 team in the AFC. You would think Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were playing again. What the hell is going on? Kansas City is 3rd in their division. What is happening? What is happening right now? All right. We got a rematch from a couple weeks ago. The Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. We know how that first one went. But do we see a repeat from last time? I don't know. I don't know if the Giants will put up 34 on the Eagles this time. You know, maybe the Eagles are finally starting to find their passing game. If they are, this is going to be a long night for the Giants. Long night for the Giants. Next up, we got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Houston Texans. San Francisco has been quietly putting wins together. As injured as they have been, as injured as the San Francisco 49ers have been, they've been slowly putting wins together. Slowly but surely. The Texans on the other side, they've been doing okay. You know, they're kind of like barely keeping their head above water. Let's see, Kamara, Vidal. Let's see, Saints playing who? Saints are playing the Bucks. Vidal playing the Vikings. I mean, that's a toss-up. Just because, right? In my heart, I want to say that we're going to play good against the Saints. That the Bucks are going to play good against the Saints, but the Saints always seem to make it very competitive, and the Saints have, they've been playing games very close. They really have, and I think Kamara is going to be a big part of that New Orleans offense when they come and play us. He may not get a whole lot of rushing yards, but the receiving aspect of Alvin Kamara makes me want to put him in more than Vidal. Fan 11 this week with Cole Kmet out. Noah Fant. Where's Noah Fant? Noah Fant's in Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Noah Fant's in Chicago. Oh, no. Kmet's in Chicago. Noah Fant is... Where is he at? Cincinnati. And then, let's see. Loveland... Let's see. Is in Chicago. Let's see. The Bengals. Who do we say they're playing? The Jet. Oh, I would put in Noah Fant for that. So you trade Mooney for Tez. I already have London and don't want the stack. For Tez Johnson, I mean, probably. If you don't want the stack, then I would say yes. I mean, just because Tez Johnson is going to have to step up again because with Mike Evans going down on Monday night, there's going to be a need for another receiver. Egbuka is probably going to be back for the rest of the season, but we're still no Chris Godwin. Now Mike Evans is out, so he'll be setting up a bigger role. Trade Nico Collins and Dobbins for Adams and Chase Brown. Yes, I would. Dobbins hasn't been too super productive. He's been average at most. Looks like he's splitting a lot of time with RJ Harvey. Nico Collins not making as big of an impact as he did his rookie year. And then Adams, Davante Adams is just Davante Adams. Caleb Williams or Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones all the way. They're playing the Titans. You're asking, should you start Daniel Jones and he's playing the Titans? Dude. Start Daniel Jones. What type of player should I target with Gadsden? I have. What type of player should I target with Gadsden? So since you have McBride, Let's see. I don't know. Let's see what should I target with. I guess it depends on what the rest of your lineup looks like. Whatever you have for receivers and running backs, will depend on who. Hey, thanks for the follow, Heather. I appreciate you. I'm sorry for anybody that has followed me that I haven't said thank you, but thank you for all the followers that are coming in and following me. I guess it depends on what you have on your lineup there of what you can get for Gadsden. You probably won't be able to get much, honestly, but I mean McBride is always a good one to have. So let's see, Dobbs or Tez flex. Let's see, Green Bay's playing the Steelers. We're playing the Saints. Dobbs will get more targets than Tez will. So I would initially, like with my gut, I want to say Romeo Dobbs just because he's going to get more targets. If you have a PPR league, you're definitely going to want somebody who's going to get more targets, and Dobbs is definitely going to be that guy. Start Love or Dart this week. Again, Love is playing the Steelers. Hold on. Let me get in here. Let's see. Start Love or Dart. I would definitely start Love. Dart's going to have his hands full with Philadelphia. This is going to be a grudge match. Mason or Dowdell. In that situation, I would probably put in Mason just because Dowdle is going to be splitting time with Chuba Hubbard because Chuba Hubbard is back. Jaden Reed. Last I knew, Jaden Reed was injured. He had a broken collarbone. Let's see, Kittle or Goddard. I'd probably go Kittle in that one. Kittle's going to get a lot more looks this week than he did last week. Dart or Nix. They played last week. And if anything, I would say Bo Nix. Who are they playing? Denver. Let me look at that. Denver's playing I would start Bo Nix. Absolutely. The Cowboys defense is trash. Should I pick up Jaden Reed from waivers? Again, I think last I knew, Jaden Reed was hurt. He had a broken collarbone. Let's see, Tez or Dobbins and flex. Again, Dobbins could be good just because they're playing the Cowboys. Tez worries me because he'll maybe get 1 or 2 targets for the game. Comes back this week. Comes back this in a week or two. I mean, if he's coming back in a week or two and you're just going to hold him on your bench, I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad move. But I just don't know how productive he's going to be when he comes back. Nix or Hurts. If Hurts has another passing game like he did this week, which is very possible against the Giants, because again, this is a game in Philly. I would say Hurts, but Nix is going against Dallas. Dallas's defense is not great. Like, I mean, Denver's probably going to put up some points against the Cowboys. Let me do this. Okay. Diggs or Worthy. Xavier Worthy playing. Let me get there. Okay. Diggs or Worthy. Kansas City, who are they playing? They're playing the Commanders. Diggs are playing the Browns. I'd probably say Diggs there. Sit 1. Rashad, Dobbins, or Flowers. Or Rome. I'd probably sit Flowers there. Diggs or Worthy. I would start Stephon Diggs. I see you. Shashir. I see you. I would start Diggs. Trade Jordan Mason and Wan'Dale Robinson for Derrick Henry. Last year, I would have said yes. I would have said absolutely. This year, probably not. Derrick Henry has just underperformed this year. Let's see, with JD out, how do you think Debo performs? Debo's going to be heavily relied on. Marcus Mariota is probably going to be able to find him. He's definitely going to be that number 1 target, so I think he'll I think he'll have probably over. I think he'll have at least a touchdown, maybe 80 to 90 yards. Schultz or Chuba and flex. Ferguson tight end 1. Chuba Hubbard in your flex. Let's see. Lamb, Odunze, Wan'Dale Robinson flex. Start 3. Starting Lamb. Starting Odunze. And probably starting the first 3. Lamb, Odunze, and Addison. Even with the workload split and Nico being out. Yeah, I would still say yeah. I mean, Chuba's gonna be splitting the load too. Schultz. I don't think. Would you trade Wan'Dale for Marvin Harrison? No, because Marvin Harrison is retired. But if you could trade for his son, Marvin Harrison Jr., then yes, I would. Marvin is depleted in Houston. It is depleted in Houston, so they are probably going to be relying heavily on the tight end, but they'll also probably rely heavy on the run game. Start Warren or Jenkins. I'm guessing these are. So is this a split between running backs? If we're talking running backs, I'd probably start Warren, just because I think the Patriots defense is probably. I mean their run defense played very well. Again, they played the Titans last week, but just going off of that, Pickens or Diggs this week. I would take Diggs this week. Pickens is going to be probably lined up against Pat Surtain, who's probably one of the best corners in the league right now, out in Denver. Dude, our league traded CD and Jenkins for Sutton and King. So he traded CD Lamb and Jenkins for Sutton and King Henry to the commish. Sounds like the league might be rigged by the commish. That might be an under the table trade. I mean, again, King Henry has underperformed this year, but there's no telling what might happen in the later weeks. I mean, Baltimore has just not been the same. Has not been Baltimore all year. They're not looking like the MVP led Baltimore Ravens. I know Lamar Jackson's out, but even still, Derrick Henry has just not looked great. Should I start Terry or Mooney? Is Terry McLaurin playing? If Terry McLaurin is playing, I would start Terry McLaurin.